Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you all to the TYPE88 show, where we feature people that are out there living their dreams. And speaking of someone that's living their dreams, this young man is doesn't stop dreaming. And when I say dreaming, I mean actually going out there and making things a reality, not hoping and wishing. This guy constantly is checking off things on his bucket list. Like Jay-Z said on his latest verse, I should make a new bucket list every 6 months. I'm sure this guy's doing things very similar. So I just want to welcome
Yes.
my dude to the Type 88 show, Jesse Blum. What's up, man?
Hey man, how you doing, Dave?
Good to have you part of the show. I'm happy we were able to lock in. You're always up in the sky or on a stage somewhere. So it's good to kind of
Yes, no, I'm happy. Yeah, no, I got off a plane. I'm in Tennessee doing rehearsals. It's exciting. It's just been super cool. That things have been going really well. I'm very fortunate, but I've also been grinding since I was 12. And I'm
yeah,
37, so like I feel like I knew what I wanted to do when I was 12, but unfortunately I had to like graduate high school first.
that's really cool. Yeah, that's kind of where I always like to start. Like I always try to like find the essence. Like what was that spark? What was that thing that kind of got you into it? So I know you play a bunch of stuff, but maybe you could just quickly tell us what instruments you play.
Yeah, I played trumpet, keyboards, trumpet, keyboards, organ, and accordion. And then I also play like harmonium a little bit and glockenspiel a little bit. You know, you don't get a lot of calls for glockenspiel. People aren't like, oh, I want to hire a glockenspiel player for my tour. Like, it's not like a big deal. I'm even surprised that 21 Pilots has me playing accordion with them. Like, I was shocked. I was like, you sure you want me to bring that? But I did it. I played it in my last band too, in Misterwives. But yeah, I mean, when I was 4, I loved piano, and I begged my parents for lessons for 2 years. But they thought since I also wanted to be like a ninja, a rocket ship pilot, a fireman, that maybe it was like a phase, but
Mm.
it wasn't, obviously. And then when I was 6, it was really fun to me, and I loved it, and I knew it was something special. But when I was 12, I really knew that there was like nothing else for me, and that I had to do this. And it was also very important for me as I grew up to not, I never had like a safety net. Like I just always did music. Like if I didn't eat, then I needed to do music harder. You know what I mean? But I had a lot of friends and family in our hometown of Staten Island who would always like take care of me. And when my wife met all my friends, she's like, how come everyone's trying to feed you all the time? I'm like, unfortunately, I trained them from because I was a broke musician for a while.
Wow. So yeah, so we always hear stories about people like sleeping on couches and like the starving
Yeah,
art, but
I
it
did
was
all that stuff. I
wow.
did all that stuff. I toured in a band for 10 years with different bands. I even had my own like sleeping setup with me, like a sleeping pad and a sleeping bag that was comfy and my own pillow. Like I had it down to a science. Um, and I'm really glad to not be in the van anymore.
So you
But
were
I don't think it could have happened if I didn't do that first.
yeah, man, I always try to look at life too, and I'm like, wow, I didn't want to deal with those things, but like the fact that I did deal with those things enabled me or helped me make the decisions I'm making today, or it made me who I am. So that's awesome. So you pretty
Yeah,
much
I
got
understand.
really comfortable being uncomfortable, like just
Yeah, I just understood. I always wanted to understand our business from like the ground up. I mean, I'd done tours where I was the audio engineer's assistant, and every time I'd load in, like I'd get yelled at by the people who worked at the club because I wouldn't be doing things correctly. And then by the end of the show, they'd be like, "You did all right, kid. You're really a trumpet player, not an audio guy."
mhm.
I used to load in all my own equipment, carry my own stuff. I still carry my own stuff when I go to sessions, and I bring an awful lot with me to sessions because I think it's important that I always have at least a keyboard and a trumpet with me at all times. I actually had a teacher when I went to music conservatory really pushed me in that. He's like, the fact that you can do both like equally as well is extremely important. He said, never let up, don't allow any of your skills to get weaker on one instrument. Make sure it's always parallel. And even if you're doing a piano gig, bring the trumpet and play one song on trumpet. Like just make sure people know you as both things, never one, because that's not who you are. You're both things. And I remember him. I remember his words to this day. I still have his cell phone number. Every now and then I'll hit him up because he runs like a Cuban like Afro. No, it's not. It's a Colombian big band. There's a
Oh,
lot of Cuban music in New York, but not a lot of Colombian traditional folk music fused with like jazz and big band. And he has, yeah, a group. I think they're called Folklore Urbano, and they're really fucking cool. It's definitely like something where you're like, this is somewhat familiar, but I never heard anything like
that's awesome. My fiance is Colombian, so yeah, definitely
it. Yeah,
send me
tell
his
her to check it
info.
out. I'd be interested to see what she thought about it. And what
That's
isn't also cumbia music is from Colombia as well, right? Cumbia music. I think
that's a good
so.
question. I gotta Google that.
I think it's the music, the cheese grater. I always call it because it has like that.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Really good music. Very accordion heavy in traditional form. But anyway, I was
That,
talking about something before I went on a tangent.
no, it's
You were
cool.
asking?
So no, so it's just I think it's dope because my father, he's a professional musician as well, and when
Oh, I
he
didn't
does
know that.
gigs too, he'll bring his bassoon, his trumpet, not his trumpet. He plays the clarinet, the flute, the bassoon, the piccolo. Those are his like normal weapons of choice, and
That's cool.
he's played with like Aretha Franklin on Broadway. But with him, he doesn't make his own music. So like maybe you could kind
He's
of
like a
talk
great
about
reader.
he's an amazing yeah, he's like he's kind of like my Derek Jeter of my fan. You know, like he's just so professional. He shows up on time early all the time. He played thousands of games. He's an OG as people would say, right?
Yes.
He never got into his own like custom sounds and his own beats and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
here you
that's
are,
what I'm all about. I mean, that's like literally my life. When I was younger, people used to be like, "Oh, you got to be the best," and I don't think like you can. The best is like opinion based. I think the only thing that you can do is be the best unique individual that you are. And once I started thinking that way, I felt like the music that I made got a lot better and I was a lot freer because instead of being upset that there was some 8-year-old in New Orleans who could run circles around me on every instrument in the world because music is like in their blood. I love that talent. I was just, you can't really focus on stuff like that. You learn from other people. You see someone doing something like, oh, maybe I can do that, or maybe I can do my version of it. You got to be like 1,000% yourself in this business, especially when you're on stage. Maybe when you get off stage, you go back to being 100 because no one wants someone who's like that extra all the time. but yeah, like to me, it's been awesome. Like I feel like the pandemic for me, even though it's horrible, like all the death around it and the way that it's brought the world to its knees, it allowed me to focus on just me instead of working for someone else or doing things with other people. Instead of aligning myself with people that I was always like, what are you doing? Oh, I'll do this with you. I was just doing my own thing, making loops and stuff, sending music out to people. I still work with a lot of people as music is a collaborative art form and always should be. But I just didn't realize that really what I need to do is spend 23 months just focusing on myself and making the music that only I want to make for no other reason than joy and just to try to like work with as many people as possible.
yeah, man, it was definitely a journey because at that time, I remember me, I was just like, I just wanted to find things to kind of keep myself busy.
Yeah,
And it's like once you kind of lock in on that, it's like a wave you don't want to get off. You're just like, oh man. And then you get a taste of it and you're like, you see the fruits of it. And of course, you haven't been doing this just 2 years, you've been doing it over 20 something years. But like
yeah.
you said, just being able to focus on something for hours on end, and with very little distraction, you saw a lot of progress from that. So that's
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, like I started I'm managed by a man named Olu, and I remember speaking to him last July and him being like, "Hey man, I think I can manage you. I think we can do this. I think I can get you in the studio with Hit Boy." And then literally almost a year later, the Nas album came out that I worked on those songs with Hit Boy. It's like crazy to me. And I also remember telling him the first time we went to LA, we're like chilling outside of our Airbnb, and I could tell the job he had at the time was taking away from his life like enjoyment it's not that a job's a job, and when you're in the music business, yeah, you have to work hard, but sometimes you're surrounded by toxic people, and that's never a good way to grow.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, man, we gotta get things going so that I can we got to use my skill set to get you a different job. And he's moving to LA in a week. He's going to work for Rock Nation.
Wow.
And they basically signed him off of the strength of him as a hard worker, but because they discovered me through him, through Hit Boy, basically. It's
Wow.
really cool. I never thought, when I said that, I had hoped that I could use whatever skills I had to get him one, but the fact that it actually happened, I guess you got to put stuff out there sometimes. But I just know how much better his life is going to be, and also it's awesome that he's in LA. But whatever. I just wanted to tell a story because that's cool to me. We went to LA in March, and then now we've already solidified that those kind of relationships. I don't know, texting with Hit Boy, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah. So
pretty regularly, talking to him about he's, I don't know, just the coolest thing that happened is the last time I worked with him. He is kind of my favorite hip hop producer I ever worked with. He's just so fast. He loves music, and he's in a position where he can do something that isn't hip hop, and it is because he can tell people what cool is. He can do whatever he wants musically, and he wants to push it and advance and work all the time. And so do I. We both knew what we wanted to do when we were 12, which I really liked when I found that out about him. And the last thing we made together, he sent to Beyonce, and she cut to it. And I don't know what's going to happen. And then the next day, Rock Nation called my manager. And then, things have been happening. They're trying to, they offered me a publishing deal, but I would like to get my worth up more. You know what I think I'd like to do before I accept the publishing deal? See if that Beyonce song's going to come out.
Yeah.
Is it going to come out? I don't know. But if it does come out and it does well, that adds a few zeros.
I agree. So maybe we could just talk about the experience with Hit Boy, because anyone who doesn't know, Hit Boy's just been making hits for quite a while. Of the 2010s to the current, and everything from Kanye to Drake to, of course, the new Nas album. And here you are working with him on the new Nas album. Maybe you could kind of just tell me how that session, maybe a little bit how the session was. What was the vibe like?
So it was crazy. The first time I met him, he just had me and Olu come to his studio to play him loops. But he played us what I thought was a completed Nas album, and I remember even then being man, this song would sound really cool with trumpet. And he was like, nah, man, we're not doing that today. And then 3 times later, I see him. As soon as I walk in the room, I put my stuff down, and he's like, what do you got with you? And I'm like, a trumpet and a keyboard. He's like, this new Nas album needs some trumpet. And then immediately, and the first song he has is the song I said. I'm sure he doesn't remember. It was just kind of a crazy thing. And I did a bunch of stuff, but mostly I did solos in one take, and he kept them in there entirely. I thought he would edit them and chop them up. There was an engineer named David Kim there as well, and he's his Pro Tools engineer, and he uses FL Studios to make beats and stuff. And basically I just was improvising along, record that right now. I think it's on video too. I got to get that video. Got to figure out how to get that video. And then the next song he wanted me to play trumpet on, and there was a sample he wanted me to play over it, try to make it bigger. And so I did that. I added some parts, did another solo. The next song needed keys, and it was just this rapid fire thing. But at some point I'm playing, and I look around, and there's just 8 people that I don't know with their I guess at my skill level supposedly. And that was just kind of crazy because I was just doing my thing. I was focused on the music, and I didn't realize that the room had filled. And and I don't know, he was just watching me while I was doing my thing and smoking blunts and stuff, and it just went really well. And it was crazy. I was done in 2 hours, 3 songs in 2 hours, 2 on trumpet, 1 on keys. It was awesome. I think I was the last musician to touch that record.
That's sick, bro. And that album album's a special album, man. And it made me really
also
proud to just see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been listening to Nas since I was 10, so it was like a super dream come true. Like I got emotional like afterwards, and like, and then the next time I went and saw a hit, he was like, "Hey, I just got the masters. Why don't you come and listen?" He like sat me down in like a spot where there's, I was like engulfed in sound,
Wow.
and that was really. And then I did get emotional, and then I spoke to him and I was like, "Hey, why don't we cook up from scratch?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't really have like this keyboard, like I don't have the power for it." And I'm like, "I got a keyboard." He's like, "Oh, I don't really like do audio through FL. I just use plugins." And I'm like, "I got a cable for that." And like, so I don't think he was planning the next time for that to happen. He just wanted to play me the music. But I was super happy that I was able to convince him that we should. And when we did, it was awesome. Big Sean called him like in the middle of it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm with my man Jesse. He's cold on the keys and the trumpet." And I'm like, "Yes, tell Big Sean about me." Like that's fucking sick. And then we made that thing for Beyonce. That was the last thing we
Oh,
did.
got you. I
And
was gonna say what came out of that, and that you said
that's what
okay.
came. Yeah, I don't know what he did with the other stuff. I hope to find out. We're playing in LA the end of September, or I'm playing with 21 Pilots in LA the end of September, beginning of October. And I think I'm going to stay a few days afterwards. I really want to introduce Hit to 21 Pilots and have him produce a song for that, because that to me, then I'm really doing stuff, right?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
I'm curating like my own reality. Because that'd be, imagine what would that sound like? Hit Boy producing a 21 Pilots song. Like
I,
that'd sound good.
I think it just makes sense. They're both genre breaking artists. They don't you can't put either one in a box.
Yeah.
And they've both flexed in different categories, and some songs you don't even know what to label it. I think it just makes perfect sense. And if anyone's the bridge, it's you.
I'm gonna try to do that like super hard. Like that, like I'm going to, I think it'll help if that Beyonce song comes out, because then I'll be like, "Oh, I did it with this guy,
Yeah,
Hit
yeah,
Boy." And then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, because that sometimes people, I've noticed that since genres in our modern world are so like they're very separated in many more ways than they were when we were younger. I feel it's like the great thing about the internet is no matter what kind of weird, crazy music you play, you can find your people. But there's some artists right now who has 14 million monthly listeners on Spotify that you and I will never hear of,
yeah.
because like things are so segmented.
Yep.
And yeah, my goal is to travel between worlds and go to as many. I want to be in as many different genres as possible. Like I love music. I love learning about different styles. I love that America produces like weird regional music, like footwork music, or like even like the hyphy movement from a long time ago. Did you know that there's a Texas style of tenor saxophone playing called Texas tenor?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like isn't that
I
crazy?
didn't know
Like
that.
one thing about people hate on America a lot, and while I don't necessarily agree with our politics, the people in America are there's many more great, wonderful, warm people than there are terrible, mean, and hate-filled people. And like I wish that I wish that there was less division in our country. Like I don't care who you voted for. If you're a nice person, I want to hang out with you.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. It doesn't have to be you like this, so I don't like you. It could be like,
Yeah,
okay, we could agree to disagree, but I'm sure there's things we agree on. I'm sure we both like Ben and Jerry's. I'm sure we both
yeah,
like.
or pasta or pizza.
I was just about to say pizza's like top of all my lists. But yeah, it's true, and I think from what I see, just talking to you for just 20, 30 minutes now, you're clearly walking in your purpose. Like you're doing stuff you love. You gave yourself no other choice. You didn't really give yourself much of a chance to get really caught up, chasing, coming back to, oh, let me do the dream now. Like you were just you were in your dream the whole time. And it's
Yeah.
showing on your face. You just look
Yeah,
happy.
no, I'm very happy. I mean, we just played the VMAs. Like that was crazy. Like there was like an ocean wall around us. They had me like play kind of like a trumpet solo at the end. Like that's crazy. They didn't have to do that. Like I could have just played a part, but they wanted me to go crazy. Like I feel like I'm at a place where I'm getting a lot of validation from people who I respect and love. And it only makes me want to play better. People talk about getting comfortable, but I don't really see I feel like to me, everything that I'm doing inspires me to work harder and want to do more things. It's not that I don't rest and that I work all the time. But even though I had a day off yesterday, I still did a 2-hour session with my Cash because I love him and I wanted to. He sent me some songs to work on the road, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be home and my wife has work anyway. Why don't I come over? And it's an excuse for him to give me free hot peppers because he grows a lot of hot peppers.
Nice.
They're
Yeah,
delicious. Yeah, he has like cayenne, Scotch bonnet, but enough about Mike
I've
Cash's
heard about
pepper.
that. I've heard about those peppers.
Yeah,
And
do you like
Mike,
hot peppers, Dave?
Mike, if you're listening, I'm gonna send you my address, or I'll trade you
But
some
you
mixtape.
got to go there. I don't think he's delivering hot peppers. You got to get them from the store.
All right, I gotta go right. All right, I'm all for it. I know where he's at. So yeah, I think it's just I think we always got to find a way to look forward to something, whether it's event, whether it's our engagement party or a show or something. I think as long as we have something to look forward to, our attitude could completely change. And of course, we have crappy moments or days or hours or arguments, and there's no way around it. But it's just dope to see, man. You just, you have all this to look forward to, and you're taking it as a responsibility. Like, okay, now I'm having a little more limelight on me. I want to shine this light on back on this. I want to help this. I want to, and I think that's just so dope. And I think that's what life's all about. Once you start getting the recognition or maybe a little bit more money or a little bit more fame or credit, it's you're getting more responsibility, and it's like, what are you going to do with it? And I love all the stuff you're doing with the responsibility, bro. And
Yeah, man, I feel like it's all about that. If you don't use whatever small amount of power you are given in this world to like help others and share with others, it's kind of, you're going to be a lonely, sad person, and I don't want to be that. And I love people, and like, to me, I don't know. I just think people are really, even somebody who isn't outgoing is still a unique individual, and if you can like sit with them and talk with them enough, you'll find the thing that makes them special. I know that sounds like very like after school special stuff, but I really do feel like every person has some unique thing to give, and it might not. I also feel like stuff is really devalued. Like, I happen to do something that our society values. Oh my God, you're a musician. Like, people think I'm really smart because I like jazz, but I just know a lot about jazz. Like, I'm not really smart.
yeah,
Like, I'm
yeah,
not well read. Like, I know a lot about the things that I love because I kind of put blinders on. But people kind of devalue. Like, when I meet someone who's like a woodworker and can make me a chair, I pay them to make me a chair because I find it really fascinating. Like, I like the shirts you make. Like, your designs are awesome. Like, I bought them from you because I like them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, just because like you're talented, like you're good at what you do. And I also like your brand of just like building people up. You know?
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm all about that too, man. It's just we're all creative in our own way. Whether it's the mom that's home all day that has the floor shining in a way I could never do, or making a meal that I could never do, and taking care of her kids four at a time while doing her hair. Like, shout out to
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Or or the dude that's working on bridges with his tools. We're all creative in our own way, and just like you said, man, yeah, it's dope to just honor people for what they love and what they're doing, and we're all creative and we're all special in our own way. I totally agree.
Yeah, like, people are, I just love people, like, I'm not like, that was one thing that was hard about the pandemic. I felt like I spent a lot more time on the phone because I just wanted to connect, and we're on Zoom now and that's fine, but like, I kind of would rather just talk on the phone. Like,
Yeah,
what's weird, I spent my whole youth looking at all these cool future movies where we would have video talking, and now that we have it, I'm like, I'll just call you on the phone.
it's it's definitely underrated, and it's like a lost art too. I
Yes,
call
I've
people
noticed
and
people.
that yeah,
Yeah, some people don't like it when I call. Like, I'm like, well, if we're gonna be friends, I'm not just texting you. Like, you have to talk to me on the phone for at least 10 minutes.
I love it. It's true. It's almost at a point I call people and they're like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, yeah. I'm calling you to see if just to check, say hi." And they're like,
yeah, good talk.
and I've kind of conditioned a few people now where they know they're not gonna get anything like or help me with anything. It's just they're gonna find out a few things. I'm gonna find out a few things, and that's it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a
It's
weird industry we're in, the creative industry too, because it's a lot of it's like, I need this. Could you provide this? I need
Yeah.
and we love providing our service. And then we have acquaintances that become friends, and then there's like that gray area. Are they friends? Are they acquaintances? Like me, I think everyone's my friend. And I've learned in the game, maybe they're not, but like I look at everyone I meet as a friend, and I want it to be that way. And sometimes I get really disappointed when I'm like,
Yes.
oh, why
I know what
you're
you
not
mean.
talking to me? For what reason? Because I commented something weird. Like I didn't. We could still be friends. Like I didn't know it
Yeah,
ended
yeah.
that
Why
way.
don't we talk about it? Give me a call.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I
Yeah,
feel like
no,
the world's bigger
I,
than
I, I definitely feel like our business is the most social business in the world. Like, like like it's part of the nature to me of the creative world to help out other creative people. Like, it's just super important. Um, you know, I don't really like teaching. Like, it's not my thing. I felt like teaching music was like a way that I wasn't gonna reach my dreams. But I remember that my teacher, I studied with this trumpet teacher, or this trumpeter and arranger and composer named Cecil Bridgewater. Just like a badass old jazz guy, toured the world with Max Roach, and he played in Horace Silver's band, just like old jazz guys. Like, he was just killer. Probably one of my most great. Like, I still think about things he told me when I was 22 and I'm 37. You know, like, um, and I asked him, because he had a really successful career. Like, when I meet jazz people and I look like this, they're always like, "What the fuck's up with the bow tie guy?" And then when I tell them who I studied with, they're instantly nicer to me.
Mm,
That's the kind of respect he has in that world. Anywhere I go, like any country, if you like jazz, you know who he is. Or if you're really into jazz, then you're like, he's definitely on your radar because he does so much. And so I had asked him, like why he teaches. Like, he doesn't really have to teach. And he's like, at some point, I felt like I had to pass on the knowledge. And he was at the time 66. I wonder, wow, he's getting up there. That means he's older, much older now. And to me, recently, I was playing a gig. I play locally in our hometown of Staten Island with a band called the Jazztronauts, and they're very nice because they kind of let me go and come and go as I please. And it's just an all improvised 100. We don't practice. Sometimes we have rehearsal, which means we just get together and like drink a beer and eat food together and watch another band.
yeah, nice.
Like, we never rehearse, and we just kind of all make it up as we go along, and we communicate out loud while we're doing it. But it's really cool, and they let me go in and out. And I was playing a gig with them at the Hop Shop, which is a bar restaurant I used to live across the street from. And there was a couple there, and one of them came up to me and they're like, "You got to teach our kid trumpet." Like, and I was like, "Well, like, I don't really teach. Like, why don't we study with this person or that person?" And they're like, "Oh, he's already studying with those people and he's super bored, and they won't see him in person because of COVID." And they're like, "Would you teach our son?" And then they started showing me some videos, and I was like, "Wow, he's like obviously a really talented 16-year-old kid." And yeah, and his name's Adam Zafrani, and I started teaching him, and he is my one student. But basically, I don't teach him on a schedule. I'm like, "Hey, I'm home from tour and I have 2 weeks free," and then I go there like once, and we spend like an hour and a half together and talk about music. And I discovered he had perfect pitch, I was like, "None of your other teachers figured this out." And
Wow.
so I'm not a good teacher. I just could tell what he was doing. Yeah, I've had him play with the Jazztronauts. It's interesting. I never thought I'd be teaching, but with someone like that who's just so much raw talent and wants to learn, I'm like his fun teacher. Like, I don't really teach him boring things.
Yeah, yeah,
Every now and then I'll make him read music, but I'm like, you can do that with the other teachers. With me, we're going to talk about, like, how do you feel today? What would that sound like if you played it on the trumpet?
yeah. Like finding your soul and finding
Yeah,
your
that's
heart
what
in
I'm there
what
for.
you're doing. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, when his parents were like, "Please teach our son," I was like, "Why would I want to do that?" But after I met him, it was very clear and it makes me feel good to. It's weird because I never thought I'd be in a position where I would have enough knowledge that I could help somebody.
Yeah, man. I actually tell every creative person, I was like, if you're not teaching, some of them are starving artists and they're like trying to figure out a way to not starve. And I'm like, you should just teach. And I'm not saying become a teacher because that could be 80,000 later.
Yeah,
Student loans, plenty of time at school, if you need to do that, go for it. But I tell them, like, find a workshop, find Sundog Theater, find Projectivity, find little gigs where you're in a position where it's crazy because you didn't even think you could teach someone, but meanwhile, like, you've been in the game 30 years. I'm sure this kid, for 1 hour, you've saved him years. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I mean,
you'll
I've
know
at least
more.
brought more smiles to his face, and
Yeah,
that I'm happy with that. Well, and also, like, he seemed really excited. Like when I had him play with the Jazztronauts, he was like, "When can I do this again?"
yeah, and it's like
I
giving them.
even think he went down one time and played with them when I wasn't in town, and like, you know, he did good.
That's
He played.
cool.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, like something. Sorry, I'll stop talking about this, but this was crazy to me. My friend, I used to live on the corner of Beach and Van Duzer in Staten Island, very busy corner. My friend moved in close by, and he was like, I love hearing you do your warm-ups outside. I'm like, actually, I'm away. That's my trumpet student. And I'm like, I'm glad that he like sounds like me. That's so
That's
funny.
cool. Yeah,
When I
check
met him, I
it
was
out.
like, these are the warm-ups I do. You don't have to do them, but this is what I do. And now he's doing them, which is funny.
Wow.
I don't know. That was just something that really surprised me.
Yeah, man. And I tell all my creative friends, I'm like, you've been doing this even 5, 6 years, whatever it is. It's more than a kid who's just starting to dream, and
Yes.
they're like week one, exploring everything, and they don't know what door to like open, but they're like considering that door. The amount that you could help them and just talking them for an hour, even if it's not showing them how to press a key or do a note or something, just giving them time. I'm like, yo, it's a whole other side of income and something for your soul that is special. And I tell all my.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think if you're in the struggle, it's definitely something I did for a period of time when I was young, but when you teach like piano lessons, only 10% of your students actually want to learn. And that's hard, you
Yeah,
know, but I did it for a year because I needed money, and then I moved on because I didn't need to do it anymore. I really think a job like that, especially when you're trying to do something that seems difficult or unattainable, it feeds that job because it literally feeds you, but it's also very much in line. It's not like, you know, like doing something like working at the docks instead of teaching piano lessons. You know, you should probably teach piano lessons if you're a piano player instead of working at the docks. You know, because if you work at the docks, you're not going to be playing piano as much. You're going to come home exhausted every day.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But if you go and teach a few hours, you're still like, you're so close to what you want to do.
Yeah, you're in the game, and
Yeah,
there's so many
yeah.
different games to play. But yeah, and and it's cool too because when I teach, I always start sitting before I like introduce myself. I always sit in a chair next to them, and I always say, you know what, I'm starting off in this chair too because I just want to let you know I'm probably going to be learning just as much as you will. Even
That,
I'm here to teach,
yeah,
and
no,
learn so
it's
much about
cool.
yourself.
Yeah, no, when I used to study with this trumpet man Cecil, I would ask him every time, what are we learning today? That's what I would start, because he would always teach me really good stuff. I also didn't tell you that I had to chase him for about a year and beg him to teach me. He was like, I don't know, you're gonna like really do the work? You're just gonna come in every week and like ask me for new stuff, having practiced the old stuff. And I was like, no, Mr. Bridgewater, I really had to chase. I forgot that like I basically had to beg him to teach me.
No, that's
Interesting.
real. It helps.
Yeah.
That's how my dad is now. He's 70 something, and if he has a student that's not into it, he's like, I'm if you're not into this, I can't help you. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
You
he's
can't
like,
be
I don't
into
even
it
want the
for them.
money. You got to
Yeah.
care. You gotta show initiative. I'm not gonna just show up for whatever you're paying me. It's not worth it to me if you're not trying to get something out of it.
Something else I've been doing, or I've been noticing, is that now, like younger musicians will ask me like for advice and stuff. I don't think I'm really teaching at that point, but sometimes just sharing your story with others is informative, and
Oh,
like other people did for me when I was younger. And so I feel like I've been doing that a lot more since things have been going very well. No one asks you when things aren't going well.
but it
And also, no one gives you free stuff when you can't afford it. But once you can afford it, you get a lot of free stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
don't
it
like that.
It's interesting too, though, because when you start teaching them, you're gonna tell them about the things when things weren't going well.
Yes, for
Like
sure. Well,
it kind of
well, like
references back to it.
when I was at a bar like in Staten Island, and some kids were asking me, or some, they're not kids if they're 25. Some people who are younger than I, who are musicians, like asking me, and I was like, don't, like I'm 37, and I feel like I didn't really get moving, like I didn't really achieve success to me until I was 30, and then I was like, cool, like I'm good, like I can eat food regularly off of music, and I know where my money's coming from. It's not that I wasn't eating through my 20s, but it just got to a point. I was in the band Misterwives, and we started doing really well, and like touring around, and I kind of would know that I was going to be really busy every year doing that. I wouldn't know exactly when. Um, but yeah, I always tell the people when I speak to them, don't be like me, be better than me, do it faster. And then I'll work with like a producer, like this guy named Project X, who's part of 808 Mafia. He got like a publishing deal when he was 20. He's 21.
Mm,
When I met him, he couldn't drink legally.
wow.
Yeah, and so the world's really different. I also feel like my story is very old school, like study with masters, do everything in music you could possibly think of. I feel like now you can just be really good at making trap music and get a deal off that at the age of 20, or be a really awesome rapper and get a deal at 18. But for me, I knew it was always going to be a long game. I'm not sure why it had to be, but the amount now when I'm in a room, I was doing a session with Project X in LA, and people were asking me how long I've been a vegetarian. And I was like, wow, I guess 24 years. And they were all like, wow, you've been a vegetarian longer than we've all been alive. But when I played, they respected my skills, and that's really why I'm there. And that was cool to see, like, people give young people like a bad rap. People are always talking down about younger people. I don't know why. But to me, they're just because they're different and their culture that they grew up with is different than ours doesn't make them any less valid as humans. And I like to learn from young people. Also, I've noticed that as a lot of musicians get older, they get like upset, and young people like have that fire and dream that I still have in me. And as you were saying earlier, my dream has come true so many times. I did in fact have to make new dreams, which is amazing. But also never stop dreaming for that reason.
There you go. That's why I say never stop. The dream may change, your setting may change. Your settings are changing. For anyone who doesn't know, you briefly spoke about it, and I'm sure a lot of people bring this up first. The band that you're in now, but I really wanted to really dig about the foundation of you, and really talk about that before we transition. But as you said, you were in Misterwives, and now you're in a band that just a couple of people know about. If you look online, you may know about them or maybe not. But 21 Pilots, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
maybe you
And
could
I've
just
been friends with them for 8 years too, which is
that's
crazy.
amazing. That's cool. So that's like a life changing move. You're in one band and the dream is happening, right? And it's like, what could be better? Or like, wow. So like you kind of made a jump, or I don't know how the
Well, I'll tell
transition.
you, I'll speak about it. It is while it's a semi-sensitive matter,
Yeah,
it's
no,
important to talk about it. How the rate at which they decide to do it was different than the one that I wanted to have
yeah,
ultimately. Like I needed to move to a different band to grow as an individual and musically, like emotionally, musically. I had to be in control of my own destiny. So like I'm in 21 Pilots live band, but it's on my terms. You know what I mean? Like I know today where I'm going to be August of next year with them. Like I know that the first 6 months of next year, I'll probably play a few shows with them, but mostly I'll just compose. Mostly I'll just write with different people. And then the rest of the year I'll tour with them. Like being able to plan things like that, which is something I've never been able to do in my life with music. To not like I know what my next year is gonna look like. That's never happening.
wow,
I'm always just kind of like, let's see what happens in January. Let's see what happens in February. I mean, with Misterwives, it was definitely more secure than that, but it was still kind of like all over the place. Whereas now I feel like I can be ahead. I don't know. Me and my wife bought a house in in Staten Island and Port Richmond, Elm Park area
Wow,
recently. Like, I
congrats.
never thought, I've been saving for that house for like a long time. So that since I
Wow.
was 20. So I've been saving for that house for 17 years.
Was it that specific house?
No, no,
Oh,
no,
okay,
no.
that would have been epic,
Really
but
wanted
that's
this
still epic
creepy pink
either way.
mansion that got knocked down recently. Because I always thought it was really weird to live in a gigantic pink mansion and be like, everyone, you can come over, but stay out of the East Wing. That's my wing. And be like a music wing. But I'm
But
happy. We have a nice, modest colonial. But I'm very like to me, we have a house. Like that is a dream that we have accomplished. And who knows, maybe someday we'll sell it and move to a different house.
wow, that's so yeah, I learned a lot about that because from what I saw, everything your transition, of course, looked like a tough decision because things were going really well and there was a lot of love and there still is love, which I saw, everyone showing you mad love on IG and
Yeah, no, and I love all those people. Like I'd
yeah,
still gladly murder someone and bury them in Staten Island for any of those people. Like I
yeah,
love those people. I just felt like I couldn't keep if I kept working with them, I wouldn't be move forward and I needed to move forward. And ultimately the when you're in a band and you're like a core member of it, you have to submit to the will of the collective. Like that's what a good band person does. But for me, I after doing it for 8 years, yeah, it's just something I had to do. But it was not an easy decision and I miss them. But man, things are really good right now. It was the right decision. Like no, like very much so, very easily said.
yeah. I think
And
we have
things were good. Things were good. It just wasn't like it. Just I guess it sounds weird saying like I just wanted more, but I just wanted to be in control of my own life.
yeah. No, we've all been in relationships probably over 5 years or so where we thought that may have been it, and then we realized it wasn't. But then we saw that it was the right decision, even though it felt you didn't know or but like
Yeah,
it's good that you're the decision, you feel good about it. There's love within it because sometimes things end and it's not all positive. So like
yeah.
and
Well,
you have you're on your own terms with the music and the publishing or whatever. So like it's great to see. It's great to see, someone still be dreaming. Maybe they changed their car on the path,
my
but they're
car actually just got totaled because of the hurricane.
oh yikes.
And a lot of my friends kept being like, "You still driving the hoopty? What's up with that?" And so now I finally will use that as an excuse to now. You know, when you drive, when you're a musician and you're putting equipment in and out of your car, like if you have a nice car, your nice car gets fucked up.
I agree. I've
And
messed up many cars with my merch.
yeah, exactly. And so to me, I didn't really care. And I also think about it like this: fancy car or 8 more keyboards.
I
You know,
totally
like
agree.
fancy car or like new interface with 10 inputs. You know, but it's getting to the point where I think I can kind of do all those things. And I think it'd be nice to have a car that wasn't from 2006. But I'll miss my hoopty. But thank you
Yeah,
for the hurricane. The hurricane destroyed a lot of other things I like. But my car, I'm okay to like, that's okay. Let it go.
yeah, yeah. It's a year moving forward, moving on, moving forward, and cheers to brighter years ahead. And but that so here now you are with 21 Pilots. They only have a couple of followers on social media.
Yeah, they're doing all right. You know, they're doing nice boys from Columbus, Ohio. I think they're really gonna make their mark on the world.
So for anyone who didn't just watch the VMAs, I saw you there and you were all performing
Yeah,
um,
that was fun.
with the group 21 Pilots, and maybe you could just kind of tell me about that experience because that looks super cool. It was actually the first time I watched the VMAs in a long time. You gave me the reason to watch it, and
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love pop culture. I love pop music. I was just so excited for you. I couldn't imagine how you felt being there.
I mean, for me, like I've been literally watching the VMAs since kind of like since they existed. So to me, to remember like watching them when my brother was watching them when I was 8, and then also to then be performing there, it was just amazing. I think you could see by the smile on my face while I was performing, I
Yeah,
was obviously having a great time. It was just awesome. It's like it's like it was things like that to me are just surreal, you know, even just like taking an Uber, like a nice Uber from my house to meet up, you know, at the Barclays Center with everyone, knowing that MTV's also paying for me to get home. Like that, things like that are just stupid and dumb and funny. And it was awesome. It was like a dream come true.
Wow.
Also there, they gave me a lot of trumpet things to do, which was really cool. Like I kind of like solo over the last chorus, which is awesome. And I don't know, it's just really, I feel like I'm exactly where I should be in my life. Like that, like it's just, I feel so good. Like I'm still high off of that one song performance.
Wow.
And just something that's really funny that I'd like to share with you. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but I think it's fine. So when we're leaving the VMAs, I see this guy walking away and he's pissed. Like, I don't know what it's about, but he seems like really angry. Like maybe he didn't get in or he didn't have the right tickets. And then all of a sudden I hear, Joel, get back here. And it's Joel Santana really pissed off at his publicists that he like either didn't get tickets to the VMAs or his tickets
Wow.
weren't right and they wouldn't let him in. And
Wow.
all I could think was like, wow, he can't get in, but I was playing there. That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of his, and I felt kind of bad for him because that doesn't really make sense to me why I would be allowed and he wouldn't. But that was just like so funny. And I was telling everyone who we were with, I was like, you guys know who that is? And like, no one did, but I did. So it was like my little New York private joke that I had with the VMAs.
Nice.
And now I'm sharing with you all.
That's yeah, man. It's
That
been
was good. I was like, this is just some weird shit. Like what is happening right now?
I'm a big Dipset fan, but
Yeah, me too.
they haven't had the best luck this summer.
No. Well, they got destroyed. I mean, the
Yeah,
Locks, Dipset made like jingle-based hip hop hits, and the Locks are like spitting fire. All three of them
they're like
as
blood brothers. They're
individuals.
like blood brothers, basically.
Yeah, and
That
you could
didn't
see
stop
when they
rap.
were up there, like their tightness as a unit is like, you know, you could. It's just like a team. They're like a better team, you
Yeah,
know. And then I just love Jadakiss. Like I enjoy hearing him rap like all the time.
yeah. It was
He's a talented guy, and I would like to work with him someday.
yeah. Oh, he is with Rock Nation. Um, so
Yeah, I'd like that very much. I just feel like that'd be fun, you know.
yeah, man, that was a special moment, you know. And I grew up Killer Cam. That was one of my favorite artists growing up for a really long time. But Jada has always been my top five before he's been saying that.
That about himself.
And I'm so grateful to just see them really get the appreciation and like the resurgence of fans and the love that I feel like they've always deserved. And I feel like, you know, time just got ahead of us. There's been certain eras like Kanye eras, Drake eras that have all been very good, but they've always for a long time they've overshadowed a lot of the old school. But I'm very happy a lot of the old school guys are really getting the love, and Jada and the Locks especially.
Yeah,
Um,
back to that's one thing I did want to say about Nas. Like to me, to work on one of my favorite rappers, like I literally grew up listening to him. You know, he's from Queens. I'm from Staten Island. To work on one of his albums, realizing that he's a 47-year-old rapper at the top of his skill level, like he's not past his prime. He's every day he exists is his prime. Like that's really inspirational because that's one thing I always thought about growing up, learning about. I used to read a lot of like musicians' biographies to like learn their stories, so I could, you know, you could learn something from everyone's story. As we're like, I mean, that's why we're here, right?
yeah,
It's kind of, and yeah, like I just never wanted to be somebody who had a prime. I always wanted to be someone who was growing and learning. It's fine if society thinks that, but for me, I don't want to be less good at any skill I possess. You know, I want to get better at everything. I want to be a better person, better listener, you know, more in touch with like who I am as an individual, what I'm really feeling, why I react to things, and of course as a musician. And yeah, it's cool. I'm getting the chance to really do that. Even, but I'm like crazy. Even so, 2 weeks before we had our first rehearsal with 21, I basically stopped doing sessions and just practiced so that the next week when I was learning all the material, I would be
Mm.
super sharp, or maybe even a little bit better than I've ever been. And this gig has really made me have to get a little bit better than I've ever been. So to get paid to become better at your skill, it's just, that's like, if you can figure out how to do that, that's crazy. When one of the first bands that I was in that toured a lot was a band called Outer National. And when I joined the band, they were signed to Warner. And for a year, I basically, they didn't, it wasn't much. It was like they just covered my rent. But knowing your rent's covered when you're a musician who lives week to week is like a big deal.
That's amazing.
And knowing my rent was covered, I just practiced and practiced. So basically, I got, and we didn't really do a lot except become a tighter band in that year. And then we wound up getting dropped off Warner. But that, like, that was a really good time, like to get paid to just like, what am I doing every day? My job is to be better. I need
Yeah.
to, I'm good, but I want to be great. You know, like I think about stuff like that a lot. And I just want to, I think that there's, even if it seems like people don't need me to be more skilled, I'm a craft, like a graffiti artist. It's all about the craft, you
Yeah.
know?
I love it, man. You read my mind because I was literally about to ask you about what we don't see, you know, because we always see the finished product of every, now social media is pretty much showing the finished product. The photo was even edited, the song is mastered, the shirt is printed, but we don't always see what goes into everything way before. So here you are, you know, you talked about 25 years pursuing your dream. But then what I really wanted to know was about how you practice and stuff, and you literally kind of just answered those questions, because it's like, what are you doing when you're not performing? And you just
Yeah,
answered.
well, I mean, like, I like to practice every day. And when you're on tour, and once Misterwives, which was, we were in a van for maybe 1 year, and then we started touring on a bus. And when you tour on a bus, you can actually do stuff. Like you get to a venue and you're well rested.
Yep.
It's not like when you tour in a van, like you're driving after the gig because you have an 8 hour drive. You drive 2 hours, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, drive another six, and then you get there right when you load in.
Hmm.
Like, and you don't really, there is no time. You don't have a place to go to practice. But now I have tons of time to practice, and on days off, I'm making music and sending them to different producers. You know, it's awesome to be able to do that. Like I wanna make music all the time, not just sometimes. You know?
Yeah. No, I think that's what it's all about. It's you're really burning that oil nonstop, and it's a result of the candle and the light just being so bright now. You know, I'm seeing you at the VMAs, but like what got you there was probably tens of thousands of hours that no one saw.
Yeah, I mean, even
You
just
being in
like
the basement.
doing, even like, so the chances that the handful of times I've been working with Hit Boy in the studio, now he sends me stuff on the road, which is awesome. But it's fun. In person is always the best. I'm just glad I earned his trust. But even when, like, I knew when I walked into that room that whatever he asked me to do, I could do,
Yeah.
because I've done so many other sessions with, like less notable producers, but people who I love. And like, to me, it's all training, like for a while, now I don't do it, but for a while when I was younger, I wouldn't say no to a gig because I thought it was an opportunity to meet other musicians and to learn. But then I started to be like, at some point, like, playing music you don't want to play from money is doing a disservice to the art form. And so I was like broke for a little while again when I stopped doing that. But at least the music was better.
I agree.
There was definitely a period of time where I lived in Mariners Harbor, and like I would live like day to day, and like I'd be like, well, I got like $1.50 in quarters so I can get a grilled cheese at the bodega. And but that's like around the time where I transitioned from taking any gig I could, and like I didn't want to get caught in the trap of like, whatever, this is just a job and I'm doing this for money. If you don't love music and it's your living, and you don't love the music you're playing, you need to change that. And for me, it was worth being like, I had reached a point where I was doing kind of well, and I kind of took a step back, money earning wise, so that I can do something I really loved with it. Because I saw a lot of my other friends got caught in this like thing where they're just like, yeah, I guess I like all the gigs I'm playing. And like, you need to love everyone you're playing. I don't
Yeah.
want to work on a song that if the song has my name on it in the writer, like, it needs to be good. Like I need to be able to stand behind it. And if not, then what am I doing out there? It's like even when I worked at a factory, I wanted to do a good job because that's still me. Like that's still me taking apart that alternator. And so I'm going to take apart that alternator the best I can.
It's so
And
true.
so yeah, and so like yeah, I got to a point, I got to a line where I was just like, I can't. I was working with this artist. She was paying us all extremely well. She was late to rehearsals. Me, a bunch of New York session guys, and they were all like making fun of her songs before she got there. And I was like, I just can't do that. I can't do this. And so I gave the gig to someone else. And then I kind of had to like restructure the way I make money, but it totally worked out, and it was the best thing I ever did. And yeah, it was during that time that I wound up like being in Misterwives. I was still doing a lot of stuff I loved, but before then, but I was also doing plenty of stuff where I was like, I got to do this so like I can pay my rent. And then instead
Yeah.
I was just a little broke, but then the band wound up taking off and was fine. I actually remember when I started doing that, my friends and family were like, "You're gonna go in a van again? Didn't you do that already for like 9 years? Like what?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a new band." They didn't understand that every time you start with a new thing like that, you're kind of like rebuilding. Unless you're fortunate like I am right now just to have a sick band that does really well, ask them to be in their live band.
Yeah, yeah. Now, man,
And
it's
so I actually met them in 2014 because Misterwives was opening for them, and they liked the way I play the trumpet so much they asked me to play a song with them every night. And then it was a song called "Fall Away," and there's like a video. They made a video out of it, and it became like a. I feel like if you're a super fan of 21 Pilots, you probably know that video, you know. And that's kind of like how I started working with them. And I told Tyler, the lead singer of the band, the first night I went to his room, and I was like, I can't believe like I'm in this band now. Like I watched you guys play so many times. He's like, Jesse, I was driving with my wife the other day, and I turned around and said to her, I can't believe I'm going to be in the band with Jesse Blum. And so I
wow,
thought that was really nice. I feel like that's really
full
sweet, and
circle.
yeah, it's just really cool. And I'll stop yammering on, but
Nah, it's just cool to see that, I think what I could really take away is, you just love what you do, man, and it just shows. But you're willing. I've been saying this a lot lately. Enjoy swimming in the mud. Like the hard work, the stuff that's not fun, but it's all the stuff that's building to get to those special moments. The practicing, the preparing, the learning the new software, the learning the new keys, like but enjoy that, because all those things are going to add up. And like you're just you're one of a kind in this world, but like you're proof that you could really make a dream possible. But you made it, so you told me and us the groundwork that you've done, and you don't stop the groundwork. And what I love too, you're very happy and you're very grateful and satisfied with where you are, but there's also this hunger, as if you're still the guy that's on the couch, so
yes,
you're
yeah.
enjoying
Well,
swimming in the mud.
it's
Like, it's
yeah.
dope.
Well, it's almost like when you have the success, it makes you realize that once some of your dreams come true, you realize that any of your dreams can come true. Maybe I won't be a ninja like 6-year-old me wanted to be because the Shoguns aren't hiring anymore. But like like that's the thing. It makes you feel like, oh, well, if I could do this, like if I can play with Misterwives at MSG opening for bands, I could probably be in the band that plays MSG. That's what it makes you realize. Every success, so it kind of like it puts more fire on it, for me at least.
Yeah.
I guess I could, yeah, like people, yes, I tell sometimes when I like to speak with my manager, I'm like, am I doing enough? What do you think I'm doing? He's like, Jesse, I think you're killing it right now. Why don't you spend the day with your wife? And he's right, that it's
Yeah.
important. That's one thing I do want to stress. As important as the grind is, I know some of the most talented people I know like don't really leave their house because they're crazy hermit super musicians. And I really think like life experience enhances the music you can make. Yes, you can practice for a lot of hours, but like knowing what it feels like when that person sings the song, like knowing that that's happened to me before. I know what that feels like is super important. And I get a lot of it when people ask me like, what inspires me, I would say like life does. And like I get just as much inspiration from hanging out with my friends as I do like watching a band or like going to see a play or some shit like that. Because
Yeah.
yeah, that's one thing I think is really important. You do have to work hard. It does mean that you're going to get to every party if you're a musician at midnight or 1 a.m., even if it started at 8 because you had a gig that night on a Saturday. Used to do that a lot, but you can, it's still very important, I think, to have these connections with people. Yeah, I am a crazy worker and I love my job, but like I also, there's great value in knowing how to stop and how to relax, and you need to recharge.
I agree. I am. I know there's a lot of team no sleep. I'm team sleep. I'm team rest. But then when I'm well rested, I'm ready to go. And
Yeah,
you
and I
know,
feel like if there's a time period where you can sleep less, then you know that you need to plan a time period where you can sleep more. I know that's not the way sleep really works, but I know what I'm about to do is we'll have, today won't be that long, but tomorrow will be like get in at 8 a.m., probably get back to the hotel at midnight. You know, so those are long days, days on your, you know, you're on your feet and stuff. But you know, you're just doing what you love to do, and essentially what we're doing is making sure the show is ridiculously awesome, not just awesome. And
yeah,
that to me is, I love, that's my favorite thing. I will say this, this is my favorite thing about being involved with 21 Pilots is that everyone has the same definition of excellence. Who no, there's like 60 people we're traveling, and there are all these micro jobs, but everyone's doing the best they can to do their job as best as possible, and that's why they're all there. Just
yeah,
when you're surrounded, they've even done studies on this. When you're surrounded, when you're like the best in your company, you won't grow as much as when you're surrounded by people at the same level as you, because you can teach, you can learn from them, you can teach each other things, and you're just like, you know, you have to bring it. I already feel like my musical brain since I started this like the 2 weeks before the rehearsal, week of practice, then a week of just learning all the songs, which I know seems really crazy, but it's necessary. And then we've had, like I feel like since I began that, like my brain is super sharp. Like when I did session yesterday with Mike, like I felt like I was just like really in good form. It wasn't that I
yeah.
was in bad form, but when I'm home, like just going from session to session, a lot of times I don't get to practice as much, and I'm just trying to compose as much music as possible. And even though my composition brain is then really sharp, I feel like sometimes I'll have ideas that I can't execute. No one really knows, but sometimes I can't execute exactly the way I want to. Like I don't think anyone could tell, but I know. And that's really all that matters. You know, yes, you can impress people, but you know how like good it could be. You know yourself what you're capable of. And so it's cool. I also feel like the job's just so inspiring. I don't know. It's just, there's something going on in my brain when I'm on tour and surrounded and engulfed in music where it like activates some even deeper part of like love and understanding of the way it should flow.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful,
Yeah.
man. And
Like I feel like super shy. I feel like I can, yeah, like I can do anything, which is not really true, but you know what I mean. Like
yeah,
anything that I put my mind to that involves music, I believe I can accomplish at this time.
that's that's what it's all about, man. And I think you referenced it with Nas. We don't have to we could get better with time, and it's what how much time we're going to put into it. But then what you also talked about is like staying balanced, taking care of yourself, spending time with people that are important to you, having the moments to be inspired to then go create something, and not every moment is, sometimes, as we know right now, things aren't always so peachy, but then it may you could turn that into a song or a piece of art, or it's what could you transform that into. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
true, man. You're enjoying
I
you
mean, I'm even aware now that like this is a high and there will be a low because that's just the way that things are, especially in music. But my low, I'll still be pretty happy because I'm doing what the fuck I want to do.
Yeah, and you're going hard, you're working hard. I always tell my fiance now, I'm like, babe, just a heads up, I'm never gonna retire. I'm always gonna have something that I'm want to do, and it's not gonna be because I need money when I'm 70. Like I'm a rainy day kind of guy. I plan ahead with a lot of things, and I, I don't think I should ever be broke at the way I roll, and and the way I save too. But I'm like, it's not because of that. It's not because we're gonna need money. It's because I need something to that I want to wake
Yeah,
up to and contribute to and work hard for. And maybe I'll work a little less. I'll probably print a lot less shirts when I'm 70, but I want to
yeah.
have like 20 different businesses that
That's what I always say. I say things like, maybe I won't drive myself to the gig. Maybe I won't carry, maybe I'll hire some 18-year-old to like drive my car and like carry my gear and set it up for me. But
yeah,
why would I not want to play music in front of people and make them happy? Like, uh,
yep.
that's one thing I also wanted to touch on. If we have the time, please stop me if we do not. Is that the coolest thing to me about music is that about live music is that when a band brings all of their energy and then an audience receives it and then brings all theirs back, something new is created that's temporary. It only is for that hour or 90 minutes, but it's like the most amazing thing that I've ever felt. No drug would ever compare to it. So yeah, like that would be foolish endeavor to try to recapture that feeling. That to me is like, that's the closest thing to a spiritual thing that I've ever had. Like that's like my religion, like that feeling is that when, because it's everyone is connected in some way
Yeah.
at that moment through the power of music.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Hold on, let me just show you this real quick. Hold on.
show me.
This is a this is a little clear box of all the concerts and shows and they're
That's awesome.
and they're compressed like it's kind of like
Yeah,
a
no, I see
garbage
that.
cube, but I have so I'm all about it. I'm all about
Yeah,
going to shows and
yeah,
it truly is a magical thing, bro. And I haven't done shows like you. I've been more on the receiving end, but it's true. You're receiving both sides are receiving. And it's a true connection like no other.
yeah. And I even remember when I was young, when my brother's 7 years older than me. So when I was 6, my favorite band was like Pink Floyd, which was fortunate. And like, I really liked Jimi Hendrix when I was 6 and the Doors. And I even remember when my brother would listen to like a live Pink Floyd album, the sound of a bunch of people singing in unison is like hauntingly powerful. I remember I'm now getting to experience that. I mean, like, I wear in-ear monitors, so you can't really hear stuff, but I like take an ear out when those moments happen because I want to hear it. Even now, they also have crowd mics, so you can get them in your ears. But there's nothing like actually feeling the vibration of that
Yeah,
many people singing at at a band.
bro. I'm I'm so proud. I'm just so happy to see you so happy, and it's so cool because your work ethic, it just speaks for itself. Here you are somewhere in the world getting ready for your next big show, and but you're talking about the things that matter to you, spending time with your wife, making sure to connect with like local producers from the hometown, and then going on to perform with a pretty awesome band, that a couple of people know about. In stadiums packed of 20,000 people. So like, it's
Yeah,
just really
they
dope to
play to
see that
arenas.
balance.
The crazy thing is that they play to arenas in like every country. Like we're gonna play Moscow next year. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
That's
Like
really
I'm
cool.
like they don't. It's not like in Uganda we can't really draw as many people, so only like yep we can play an arena there. Like it's just crazy that they are. It's just nuts. It's just the whole thing. I'm not gonna be done being excited about it.
I think that's the way to just enjoy life. Whether you're just starting what you're doing, or whether you're 20 something years in the game performing in front of 20,000 people. I think your attitude never changed, and your passion, your dedication, and it's just dope to see. Overnight success happens after 25 years.
Yeah. I will say the phone has grown a lot since the Nas album. Like people I was trying to work with and chasing are now calling me and asking me for things, which is really funny to me. It's just,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that's just what happens. It's what everyone told me that you'll get that one thing and then the doors will open. it's just funny. I've even seen them that it's given my manager so much more ammunition to try to sell me. Even the fact that I have a manager is crazy, right? Like,
That's
you know,
cool.
it's something I always wanted, and to have it, and it's someone who I've known for years. Like, it's just, it's good. It's good to know that there's someone making those calls for you while you're practicing the trumpet.
It's true, because as anyone grows, I know I'm hitting that breaking point now. We're about to hit 5,000 designs across all our selling platforms beyond Stereotype. We do other businesses too and making merch, and it's at a point where when you're making stuff or performing or creating, you can't be listing and posting and telling people about it if
Yes,
you're
that's
doing it.
why
So,
people. I have a friend. He has a company called Block Party. He manages people's socials.
yeah.
They're really expensive though. Don't hire them. Like, when I asked him recently, I was like, I think one of my friends would want to hire you. He's like, hey man, this is gonna sound like a flex, but I'm not. I'm just being serious. I don't think your friends can afford me.
Yeah.
And it's
Uh,
good. Good for him. Good for
yeah.
him. I even did something yesterday. I was like making dinner, and Jay Period called me up. He's this like sick DJ, mixtape DJ, producer, and he was like, "Hey, can you play on this thing?" And like, even like I was in the middle of eating dinner, I stopped and did it because it was awesome. It was fun. I love working with him. And dinner was. I still made guacamole, so my wife wasn't starving.
Good. Yeah, that's the balance, bro. And I think you've it's great to just see you, really play the balance and act very well. You
Yeah,
know,
well, I'm trying. I think
time.
balance. I could do better with the balance. That's like, that'd be. And one of my goals that I have is by the end of next year, even though I will tour, I want touring to be optional. For so long, it was the main source of income, but I would really like it to just be writing. And then I'll still tour, but I don't. I love it if writing was doing so well that I can go on tour, and that's just extra money, because the passive income is a crazy thing. That's one thing I will say for the musicians out there. Like, playing, you cannot live forever from gig to gig. Like, at some point you need to develop passive income. It's really important. um and it's also fun to write your own music. Like, I couldn't, like, I have a lot to say. I want to write my own music, you know.
That's amazing, bro. So so you guys are gonna be so you guys are now on tour. Are
Yeah,
tickets
we're doing.
available? People could get the tickets.
Yep, I think it's actually all sold out. I think
Oh,
every
right.
show is sold out.
All right. So maybe if you got tickets,
If you want, hit me up on IG and I'll put you on the guest list. How about that?
so that's awesome. So if try to find tickets, or maybe they'll be on like a secondhand site, StubHub, or they're
Yeah,
but
no, but hit me up. I'll put you on the guest list. I don't mind.
no,
Random person out there that I don't know. It's nice to do. No one did that for me when I was young, except for people who I knew, because at the time you couldn't contact your, like, we live in a world that's very different. When I was young, I like happened to know this reggae artist I liked, and he would put me on the guest list. But like, I couldn't hit him up on social media because there was none. Also, the first tour I did, we used MapQuest and like printed out.
wow, good
Yeah, I
gig.
was 19, and it was with a band called The Exit, and they were opening up for OAR. And that's when I learned it doesn't matter if it's 5,000 people, 5 people, or 50,000 people. It's the same thing. You're playing music to people. And like, I was like, oh, I guess it's just a bunch of people. Like, it's a bunch of people or it's 5 people. I always used to think that I would get like scared, but you're just get excited.
Yeah, man, bro.
That's
And
what I did.
bro, everything you're doing got me excited. I just want to let you know I'm inspired. And I'm just it's just dope for our the Type 88 show community to really hear about you following your dreams, bro. And I'm grateful we were able to find this time the last few weeks. You were flying here, flying there. So, bro, it's just inspiring to hear all these stories, and bro,
Well,
you're
thanks for
open
having me.
doors
I was
back.
happy to be. Thank you for asking.
Yeah,
I'll never be like someone who, you know what I mean? Like, as long as an artist never believes their own hype, they'll be the same person they always were. That's what I think. And I like coming home and being overcharged for a margarita, slice of pizza, and being called bro. Like, that's why I live in Staten Island.
Yeah.
That, and since all of the hate stuff, that since it seemed like hate became popular in the last 5 years, or more popular than I've seen in my lifetime. It was always there, but like now it's like a thing to do. Like, let's go hate today. When I realized that, of course, people are getting together in groups to just talk about how much they hate other people everywhere in the world. When I realized that was happening, of course, in my hometown, I was naive to think that it wasn't happening there. And I questioned, like, do I really want to live in a place where this is going on? And then I came to the conclusion that, of course, like I have to live here to fight against that. Because no matter where you go, it's going to exist. And that's my hometown. I don't want people associating it with terrible things. If I can help be a small light, I want to be.
And bro, you without a doubt are definitely being that. And bro, it's just so dope to just hear all this. I'm super proud of you. I'm sure, I know Staten Island, your family, and the world, and I'm just excited for more people to really see the light that you shine on this world, bro. And
Well, thanks for having me, Dave. It was a pleasure.
yeah, bro. So you're always welcome back. I'm hoping to catch you on these tours, and then when you're back on the island, let's grab a slice of some
Cool. I'd
of
like
some
that.
overpriced margarita pie.
I don't care. I'll pay that $28. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too, my man. Yo, safe travels, and everyone out there, always remember, don't stop dreaming.
Take it easy.